Let's talk about how to slow down time. Now, I know it sounds either impossible or like a huge promise, and as usual, we're not going to take long to get through it. But I promise that this really does work. It's something I've used my entire life, and it's not actually all that complicated when you look at what it is and how and why it works. And the answer to how we slow things down when the days start to blur together, when it feels like time is just flying by us, is to find ways to always be trying new and different things that are still a challenge to us. Because what causes time to blur is when each day is nearly identical to the day before. When the only things that we're doing are those things we're already so proficient at that we can do them easily or on autopilot while zoned out. We no longer have ways to mark the changes in time because one day is so much like the day before it. This is part of what I've liked about continuously building games for essentially more than half my lifetime at this point, where I'm able to sort of identify entire quarters of a year, halves of a year, sometimes longer, by the game I was working on at the time, by the kind of puzzles I was working on as a piece of building that thing at a time. And this can sound so silly that in the scheme of things that these buildings of games have been able to mark time, but what it means is that I'm always attacking different kinds of challenges than I had before. That I'm always working on something different, at least in my off hours, at least in my hobby projects, at least in my recreational outlets, that's unlike other things I've ever done before. One of the things I like about game development is how many kinds of things there are to do. That you could take an entire deep dive your entire life into any piece of composing music or designing levels or programming more efficiently or anything else you want to do within games. The art and otherwise can do a whole lifetime level of mastery in it, which means there's always more room to still be pushing yourself on a steep learning curve. And what those steep learning curves do for us is they force us to slow down, put in effort, and pay attention. And that's what causes the time to slow down. When the days are easy, when we don't have to put in effort, we can rush through things because we've become so proficient at it. But what are we really racing towards? I think most of us don't really have a clear plan, maybe, and I'm not sure I necessarily have a stronger answer either, as to where we think we're getting faster when we race through the days. I think it's worth slowing things down, if only because sometimes it helps me easier for us to appreciate the things that are going on, to notice the things that are going on around us, to let things soak in or catch up to us, to have time to reflect. And again, it comes down to always be learning and figuring out new and different kinds of things. And I'll tell you, if game development's not it, maybe for you it's, I don't know, going for walks in new and different places. Maybe for you it's composing different kind of songs. Maybe for you it's something else entirely. There's plenty of skills and crafts in the world, working with your hands, with metal, with wood, with whatever it might be, that can give you a way to mark the time, slow it down, pick up a new skill, and in the process, get a better glimpse of what's going on around you when it's not all blurring past us. You've got to break that uninterrupted routine. And ideally in a way that from one period of the year to the next is going to be different every time. Think about how much slower time seemed to crawl when you were in classes and when semesters changed than in the adult workforce, where the years will go by in the same role at the same company doing the same kinds of things. And so really the trick to this is to figure out the equivalent of putting yourself in a change of class every semester.